Hello, welcome to another episode of Kaiju Talks. This is Jared.
And this is Carter.
Today we are talking about both Jurassic Park series and the Jurassic World series, and talking about mainly the big differences between the two, and personally why the new movies have been very lacking to the original trilogy. Going back to even before the movie came out, discuss about like the book that was being written by Michael Crichton. Like, that man started writing that book in the 1980s and took about, I believe, from what I read, is about 10 years to actually fully write the novel. First novel he had, the idea was it was about scientists trying to recreate a pterodactyl. His draft didn't work out. None of the publishers kind of took it seriously, right? So he rewrote it, and now it was the mind of a child. Publishers were just like, well, we don't like the idea of a mind of a child. We want if we're wanting to read a book about dinosaurs, we want to read it for us, type of thing.
Right, a relatable character for someone who's
and
older.
Put it in more of a realistic kind of scenario, more serious tone type of thing. So he finally came out with what you have. And mind you, the movie is very different compared to the book. In the book, they dwell really into how the dinosaurs were created. It also deals with, chaos theory a lot heavier than the movies did. I've reread that book numerous times, but chaos is still a little confusing, but I think that's the point, is that you're not supposed to really understand chaos as a viewer or a reader type of thing. Yeah. It was more like a horror. It was a horror.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to just how do you actually market the movie, and if you're going to, do you want to make a movie that's really heady and sort of makes you think, or is it a movie that's more of a popcorn flick where you can kind of watch it and not necessarily turn off your mind, but it's more of a semi-action sort of film.
Well, I will say this too, in both the book and the movie, they're both equally as good in their own kind of worlds type of thing. In the novel it works, but from the novel it wouldn't have worked as a movie. You would have almost had to make a mini-series if you did word for word from the book. You have action, you have adventure, you have elements of horror. You felt like these characters were not going to survive. Felt afraid for these characters, and the same thing. I understand, these movies don't have what the first one had, like The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But I will say, in terms, it still kind of made you feel this. It gave you the sense of adventure. There's a potential chance that any of these characters could die at any point, type of thing.
I mean, some of them do die in the movies.
It's true, and let's be realistic. In reality, you and me wouldn't be able to survive.
Speak for yourself. I just got as long as I can outrun you.
It only works for bears.
Oh, really? Oh, weird.
You can as long as you can outrun the guy in front of you, you're fine. I can watch all three of those movies still and enjoy them. Yeah. They mind you, the first one is always going to be...
The first one's amazing. I watched it quite recently, and it still holds up. Even all the visual effects, it's it really holds up even since 30 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy smokes.
It wasn't just showing off look, we can do a CG. That was part of it. But it was also it had a really good story, and it was well written, well directed, good casting. It was
Forever they've been talking about making a Jurassic Park 4, right? And
right.
They couldn't come up with a proper story. There was even talks about dinosaur and human hybrids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that were gonna be for military purposes, and I was just all that. And I've seen some artwork online about sketch art that was supposed to be kind of ideas, and I was like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
this is no, just leave it alone. It's no longer about. It's kind of it's no longer about Jurassic Park anymore. It's
becomes a whole other
Well, you might as well not even call it Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, do it as a B-level movie,
exactly.
Sharknado type of thing.
Yeah.
Just do it like that. But then when you go into Jurassic, though, again, I like Jurassic World, which came out.
That was the first Chris Pratt one, right?
Yeah, Chris Pratt one.
Saw that one.
You didn't get that.
It was definitely trying to be more like an action movie almost, right? It was definitely and I think it's also a bit of a product of its time as well. When you look at what else was coming out around that time, it's sort of trying to compete with all that sort of stuff of just being an action movie with a ton of CG and a very stylized look and starring Chris Pratt.
Because Chris Pratt is basically in everything nowadays. He didn't have those philosophical discussions like how you did in the first three.
There was it was definitely way more about an action movie and high stakes, high entertainment, as opposed to being something that's sort of meant to have depth and be something that's more of a story-driven movie as opposed to just an action-driven movie. Like the first one, yeah, definitely has way more story to it in terms of the depth of like how they kind of made the dinosaurs and the whole philosophy behind it and all that, whereas the Chris Pratt ones are just kind of like, hey, look, they got feathers now.
Fallen Kingdom, they want to save the dinosaurs, right? Because the island's going to be blown up, but it's kind of like they did kind of throw in that kind of philosophical kind of discussion, like, should we really be saving these dinosaurs? Because these dinosaurs do not belong.
Right, they're a product, or they're like meant for like a previous time period.
Which I thought was kind of a good way to bring in kind of Ian Malcolm's character, which was only, even though he was only in it for like 5 minutes. Right. Jurassic World Dominion, which honestly that movie never made any sense because they're literally all over the planet. Like, they're really in, like, different parts, like, different continents, and I'm just like...
Well, you said they auctioned them off to different governments,
Well, yeah, but they were in enclosures, right? Like, how did all these dinosaurs from this area wind up there?
Well, you really think North Korea is going to keep their dinosaurs in a cage?
No, no, you know...
The whole thing with Chris Pratt having a relationship with the dinosaurs, I found that so weird.
Making you forget that these things are dangerous... creatures, right?
I mean, like, I guess it's like you can look at it similar to the way that we humans have domesticated dogs or whatever, but what I always liked about the first Jurassic Park movies was the fact that the dinosaurs were sort of like this like element of the story that they couldn't have any control over. It was just sort of like they're the enemy, but they're also just like there all the time and they can't really do anything about it. Like I liked Jurassic World, the first one with Chris Pratt. I thought it was like an entertaining movie. I haven't seen any of the ones after that, though, because they all just look like the same sort of mess.
Yeah, well, and I just, it's very disappointing, and I feel like Michael Crichton, the original author, if he was alive today, and in my opinion, I think he would be disappointed of how the series is went.
Yeah.
They're even discussing to do a 7th Jurassic Park movie, or Jurassic World movie, or are they going to call it Jurassic Planet?
Yeah, where are they going now? Yeah,
Jurassic Mars,
Jurassic Solar System.
I don't really know how, like,
they could just take the first movie and slap a new name on it and re-release it. Like, just literally, not refilm it. Just take the first movie and re-release it in theaters with a new name, and people will be like, "Oh, it's a great movie." Not even know.
Yeah, I think it was very similar to what they did with the new trilogy of Star Wars, right? They just wrote a bunch of bullshit and then kind of thought, okay, let's see how it comes together type of thing.
Well, and it's so hard when you have a movie like Jurassic Park, the first one, which was like incredibly good, to like live up to that standard. And how do you really keep making movies that are just as good as that first one? And it's sort of like at some point it's kind of like, maybe this doesn't need to be a franchise. Maybe 1 or 2 movies is all it needed.
I think the Jurassic Park series is kind of running its course.
I don't really see, like, the whole premise of the first one was, hey, we brought back dinosaurs and it's become a problem. Great premise, but where do you really go from there? Like, once you've done that, like, yeah, you can keep introducing all these new dinosaurs, but and yeah, kind of cool, I guess, to see them like rampage through a city or whatever. But like, they've kind of like you're saying, they've run their course. They've kind of done all the cool things you can do with dinosaur plot movies or like, dinosaur whatever. You know what?
It's funny. What they should really do is, if they really want to do something with dinosaurs, I think they need to change it up. Don't make it in the Jurassic Park universe. Do something different, like a new movie that just came out called 65. Heard the reviews haven't been great. I'm like, that actually seems like a neat idea, Like,
you know what they should do? They should take dinosaurs back to the 1800s. Dinosaurs and cowboys. Cowboys and dinosaurs.
You're funny.
I would love to hear what you guys think about the movies. Leave your comments below. And if there's anything else you want to hear us discuss or talk about, also drop it in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.